Terminator 1 and 2 are two of the greatest action films ever made. That kind of goes without saying. I would really just echo what everybody else has ever said about those films. They're terrific. The first movie is this great neo-noir action horror film, and the second movie is just overall a masterclass in action cinema. Two of James Cameron's best in his career, just all around fantastic films. Great special effects, memorable soundtrack, great characters, and great performances. Terminator 3 is okay. I don't hate Terminator 3. I find it to be a bit of a mixed bag. It has some really great action. It has a few funny lines, but the performances are not nearly as memorable as the first two. The actor who plays John Connor is completely forgettable. It's kind of depressing that in the context of the film, Linda Hamilton has an off-screen death, which I just find that lame. And I don't know, I don't hate that movie, but I really have no positive, like overly positive things to say about it, just to feel like, hey, that was all right. It's an okay movie. And then Terminator Salvation. I feel similar, but probably like it a little bit more than Terminator 3. I appreciate that it did something different. A lot of people have said, and I echo these feelings as well, that after the third Terminator movie, they should have just made movies set in the future. And I think people would have responded better to at least the concept of doing another time travel movie if they had actually stuck with the future films. If they had made Terminator Salvation and then a sequel to Salvation and so on, I think the public would be more open to the concept of doing a retread of the first three movies again with a Terminator going back in time, because we would have had some distance from that idea. But unfortunately, after Salvation, we got Genesis, this piece of shit. I remember seeing it in theaters and actually thinking that the atomic bomb scene at the beginning was pretty impressive, but the rest of that movie blows. And now Dark Fate. I skipped it in the theaters because of how bad a taste Genesis left in my mouth, and I never really cared to check it out until people started telling me that it wasn't actually that bad. And nobody said that it was good. Everybody just said, hey, it's rated R, it's actually not that bad. So I got a little bit curious, and just tonight I decided to finally give it a shot and watch it with some friends. There is spoilers ahead. I usually try to avoid spoilers in my videos, but I don't know, I feel like I have a bit more to talk about than I usually do, or usually want to, or feel the need to, but there will be spoilers in this review, so proceed at your own risk. John Connor and de-aged Linda Hamilton and Arnold for a scene taking place in Guatemala where John Connor dies. They kill John Connor. And I thought, damn, okay, I'm interested, and it got me a little interested in the movie. I have more feelings on the idea of killing John Connor, but more on that later. Let's do a quick summary of the plot first. And then it focuses on a new character, and for some reason Terminators are going back to kill this person. Now, I thought it would be interesting if the idea was that maybe something to do with humanity here, right? Like the Terminators are now going back to try and kill a new resistance leader. We have Natalie Reyes playing Dani, who is the leader of the resistance in the future. I thought it would be interesting if the message of the movie would have been in the end that it doesn't matter if the machines go back and kill John Connor. There will be another John Connor and another John Connor. And the human race will always find a leader to lead them in the fight against the machines. And actually what they say later in the film is that it's not Skynet this time. It's a different AI. It's a different tech company who just also happened to decide to end the world via machine war. And then, yeah, so different machines are going back in time to kill a different resistance leader who is the resistance to this movement. So yeah, the idea that I thought would have been interesting is that you just can't stop the human race. It's not about John Connor. Anybody can be a John Connor. They don't really explore that. Instead, it's just the same story again. I was pretty invested for the first half hour. Not saying that I was overly enjoying it and thinking it was amazing. I was just invested. And I thought that the first half hour, at least, was fairly strong and the action was all right. Then there's a point about halfway through the movie, three-quarters of the way-ish, that range, where they're trying to escape into America from Mexico, and that's where I think it really starts to drag. I'm not spoiling anything by saying Arnold ends up being in the movie. It's nice to see him again. I don't know, he doesn't really offer much outside of just being a familiar face and I guess a likable face. Yeah, and then it really starts to drag, and then you kind of start getting that, okay, when is this going to end? Start feeling. And unfortunately, I don't think the action in the second half of the movie is as strong as it was in the first half. It starts to get a little bit too fast and the furious for my liking. There's a particular scene that takes place in a crashing airplane that for me was, I don't know, I really like kind of the impactfulness that Terminator movies have, especially in the early films, like in Terminator 2, there's a lot of weight, like you can feel the weight of the machines hitting each other. You know, like Arnold's like a 400-pound machine. He's a robot, and you can really feel the impact of him in a fight. You really feel how heavy he is. There's a really, the filmmakers took special care to make sure that the weight of these machines was felt. And in this movie, they feel more superhero-y, light, very nimble, able to move really fast. And that's fine for like a T-1000 type character. But even Arnold's like punching people really quick at certain points. He feels less of like a tank or a slasher villain and more like a superhero, which I wasn't crazy fond of. Then the ending, there's kind of like all those sort of twists that are pretty common in Terminator movies now, or just twists that are like kind of easy to see coming. For instance, like in Genesis, there's the John Connor's the bad guy, which they spoiled in the trailer for the movie. And there's a couple of those along the way that just kind of left me going like, okay, great. And I feel like they think that they're a little bit more clever than they actually were. There's a good couple of, here's the old line but different. Like instead of saying, come with me if you want to live, it's come with me if you don't want to die in the next 30 seconds. That's like, whoop-de-doo, you got me. I thought you were going to say the line and you said it a little different. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't really have too strong a feeling about the second half of the movie. I was kind of just numb to it. And that's never a good thing, especially if your movie starts out kind of strong. And I'm saying kind of strong. I'm not saying that the movie starts and it's like, wow, this is pretty great. I'm really digging this. This is awesome. It was more like, this isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And then what I was going to say earlier, to elaborate more so on my thoughts on killing John Carpenter. John Carpenter. Oh, fuck, they kill John Carpenter in this movie. No, on killing John Connor so early in the film. I feel kind of bittersweet about it. I like the shock factor, but it ruins the ending of Terminator 2 in a different way. One thing that really disappoints me about the Terminator movies is that they keep on really undermining the ending of Terminator 2 and the sacrifice that all those characters went through. And then her son just gets killed just like that. Like, it makes you feel kind of like, oh, great. It's like the beginning of Alien 3, where all the characters that you grew to really like at the end of Aliens are just dead, except Ripley. Even the cat. And yeah, so I didn't really like that about Dark Fate. I didn't like how it took kind of the deserved, almost feel-good ending of Terminator 2. I mean, it's kind of like still ominous, right? Like in Terminator 2, I don't want to say that, oh, that movie, you feel so good by the end of it, you know? Like, it's just, there's a happy ending for the characters, presumably. And I don't like how it kind of ruins that. I think it would have been nice if John Connor could have lived. Well, I mean, that's just me being a softie, I guess. I want a happy ending for Sarah Connor, especially. And the other movies are worse for that, whereas this movie kind of gut punches you. You're like, oh, that kind of sucks. The other movies do the whole, their sacrifice didn't matter, Judgment Day comes anyways. You know, it's like, great, so Terminator 2 meant fucking nothing. And I mean, I guess a war for the machines still ends up happening, but they beat Skynet, so that's cool, I guess. Yeah, so Terminator Dark Fate, it's not awful. It's definitely better than Terminator Genesis. I think I liked it a little bit more than 3, maybe on a similar level to Terminator Salvation. It's not great. It's definitely not good. Maybe it's a little good at times. I don't know. It's an okay movie. I've definitely seen a hell of a lot worse, and I've definitely seen a hell of a lot better. So my score, Terminator Dark Fate, gets a 6 Hunter Killers out of 10. Thanks for watching.